Welcome to What's Your Story, where we, Jaime Marco,
and Stan Brown,
delve into the extraordinary lives of everyday people.
Listen in as we uncover the unique tales that shape who we are,
one story at a time.
Hey, let's get ready to explore today's story.
Let's do it. And we're back.
Oh, yeah, baby. How do you do that?
How do I do it?
What you just did.
We're back. That.
Sorry, I asked.
Dad, you are quite color coordinated today.
But popular request, no more UFO stories, but another one-liner for you.
Okay, but hold on. Can I just show the
Oh,
listener?
no.
Listener, you can't see, but my dad has an orange phone case, and he's wearing an orange hat and an orange shirt. Orange, you glad I didn't say banana? Are you? Orange, you glad I didn't say banana?
Whose show is this anyways?
Ours?
You ready? You ready for this one?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I accidentally rubbed ketchup in my eyes.
Okay.
Now I have hindsight. I like it. I like it.
I can't even go there. I can't. So where do you get these jokes from originally?
A real artist never discusses his source of creativity, inspiration, or otherwise faces the task of.
Oh, okay.
One more cute one, okay?
All right, go ahead.
Did you know that muffins spelled backwards is what you do when you take them out of the oven? What do you think?
Sniffums?
Keep going.
Muffins. Sniffums.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
In the same vein, what does motel spell backwards?
Motel? M-O-T-E-L.
Let 'em.
Let 'em. Oh. Why could I not do that? Isn't that weird? My brain wasn't working to let me switch
it's
that
left
up.
hand, right face, and left foot and things. Yeah.
And twister. There we go. So, we have had so many cool guests, different things. And today our guest is not going to disappoint either. Like, I just love bringing people on that I know, people that we don't know, all this good stuff. But today's guest is certainly not going to disappoint. I was single. Well, I dated until I was 35, but I didn't meet my person until I was 35. Had I have met our guest today prior to that, it probably would have helped me avoid so many mistakes of who I dated.
You had to go through that process. Come on, you know that.
I did. And actually, if I had met my husband any sooner, I probably wouldn't have liked him because just different ways in different life.
Can you take that thing off the screen so I can see someone's face?
Oh, we're not even like, what are you talking? Oh my gosh, you're so distracted.
That's much better.
So anyway, so she's amazing. But like we've talked to a couple people about dating. But matching up today, I don't know where she's going to go. She's got, so again, you never know where they're going to go with their story. It's like kind of cool that they just decide where they want to go.
That's true.
It's
I think we tend to bring out the best in them. It's just, as Joe Rogan said, it's just a conversation.
Except we're not doing it for like 3 hours. That's like insane and ridiculous. He just likes to hear himself speak.
He's nothing better to do.
That's true. We do have things better to do, actually. So,
gotta leave.
Okay, fine. Well, oh my gosh, your watch is orange too.
Aren't you glad?
Oh goodness, listener, I can't even. All right, let's let her in, right?
Yeah, baby.
Listener, we are welcoming Jules Price, author, actor, singer, voiceover, matchmaker. She has just about done all of the coolest things you can think of. And look at that fabulous profile picture as well too. I'm telling you, the profile pictures of our guests are look at her. Hello.
Hello, Jules.
Hi, nice to see you guys.
Can I just say how lovely it is? First of all, you came in not on mute because this is not your first rodeo.
Yeah, some people are a little confused. Yeah, I try.
Well, Jules, I don't know if you've ever met my dad before. Stan, meet Jules. Jules, meet Stan.
My pleasure.
So nice to meet you. I like the orange. It's very
okay.
cheerful.
You can't. We were just talking about it. This is his phone.
Oh,
Show your watch.
It matches my hair.
Watch.
I like orange.
Okay, but there's a little much going on here. But I guess when you're 75, you can do what you want to do.
Don't give it away.
Oh,
I've never given it away. And actually, she'll be talking today about not giving it away.
What a setup that was.
Well, it's very bright and cheerful. People don't wear orange and yellow enough, I think.
That's true.
As I'm like in black and you're in black.
I'm in black too, but that's because
Who died?
Listener, you can't see this, and we're gonna try. If they're watching the YouTube,
They know what black is.
Understand that, but like, orange is the new black. You know, the movie
I
or
gotta go
TV show.
I
Yeah.
have to go clean up on the cleanup crew. I'm gonna leave the highway and just pick up trash. Yes, good.
You think it's easy. People listen to this and like, oh, it's so fun. You do that with your dad. I'm like, yeah, it's so fun. No, it is. I love you, Daddy.
Usually you guys are in different houses or something. I don't know what's happening today, but
Yes, you are so correct. So sometimes my dad decides to grace me with his presence in person. He
yeah.
actually really got me excited about today. So he was going to be bringing me lunch, but then he forgot it at home. So I had to find lunch
Oh,
at
I
home.
thought he was excited about me, and so I'm
Uh,
just kidding.
Lunch,
That's
lunch
why
and
yes.
you,
he
lunch and
came
you.
running over to your house.
100%. And it was so funny. So we were talking about you. We'll get into your story in a second. But we were talking about you, and I went to go grab your book, and I realized I had gifted it to my sister. And so I need to get another one because I need one on my bookshelf. And so
You have another sister.
I know, but my other sister doesn't need it unless something happens to Kevin.
Everybody needs it. Everybody needs
Yeah,
it.
yeah. My niece needs it for sure. But so, and I was just kind of telling him a little bit about you, but I'm like, you know what? We never know where our guests are gonna go because it's your story, not ours. I know what I know about you.
I'm a clean slate.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
Oh,
nothing about her.
oh, got it. Yeah. I'm telling you, you just never know what's gonna come out of his mouth. I
I'm
just never
excited.
know.
That makes it exciting. Yeah. It
Okay,
makes
so we're going to ask you, we're going to start with the first question.
okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being that today is like the best day you've ever lived. You don't have a worry in the
pinnacle.
world. Yeah, like worry in the world, which we know you have a very important job. You've got personal life. So it's really rare to find like a 10 where there's not a worry in the world. To a 1 where you should not have gotten out of bed today and you shouldn't be peopling. I actually learned that term from an esthetician that I went to a while back and I loved it. I stole it from her, peopling. Anyway,
You mean
what?
she can't say it anymore?
No, it's not. It's not mine. It's mine now. Yeah. So what's your number today? Not a
Well,
cheating
thank you
test.
for answering. Thank you for pressuring. But actually, I was gonna say I'm gotta say 10. It's obviously,
Woo!
maybe not the best day in the entire world, but I don't know. It's Friday.
It's a
I
10
get to
today.
see you. It's a beautiful day. I'm still on 2 feet. I mean, I don't know. I
You
wake
have
up
an
happy
effect on people.
today,
I
and
love
so
that.
I'm gonna say a 10, and
Excellent.
I'm happy to be here.
Okay, hey, thanks for the story. We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Honestly wish that I had like a little Jules hologram that just like sat in the corner of my desk. And she was having a bad day. She was like, "Come on,
We
Jamie."
can do we can take a Jules bobblehead.
Many people want happy jewels in their back pocket. So luckily we can arrange that for a very small fee.
I love that. It's funny that like they say, you are who you surround yourself with. And I have always really been very conscious of that, when I find somebody, and we may not see each other all the time, and we don't get to talk all the time, but every time that we do connect and that we talk, my life just feels like exponentially even better. And that's the thing is that like you choose the energy that you hang out with, and that also impacts who you are. And listener, I'm just pumped for you to get, an hour of Jules, because it's just incredible what you've done and where you are and what you're doing now. And we'll let you tell your story. Where do you want to start? Because there's so much to talk about with you. But
Well,
what's feeling like you today?
goodness. Okay. Well, let's see. Yeah, I guess it's always a funny question whenever somebody says like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "Oh my," because it always seems like where do I start? And also, usually the people that do 47 things are like a little crazy. So hopefully
From your
I'm
mouth
not in
to
that
my ears.
category and just haven't noticed. But my journey has been a little bit interesting because it's kind of like everything that I've ever done in my life, I kind of haven't switched to something else. I've layered something else in. So it's like I'm still doing everything I did, well, maybe not everything, but 50 years ago, but it just keeps getting better and better. So
And it's like an
just
unconventional journey. Like you would have, if I would have
yes.
come to you, 25 years ago and said, Jules, this is what you're going to be doing in 25 years, you would have been like, I didn't even know that was like, right.
A thing.
What do
Yes.
you do now?
Yes. Okay. Good question. All right. Well, let me back up a little bit. So
Yeah,
originally,
totally.
I was a performer on Broadway in New York City. That was something that I was always passionate about from when I was a little girl. I always loved singing. And I originally wanted to be an opera singer, but kind of through a whole series of events, And the first audition I ever went to in New York, I got cast as Maria in The Sound of Music on the Broadway tour. So
Ooh.
it kind of sent me in this whole direction of musical theater for the next 14 years. So I loved, loved, loved being in New York. I thought I'd always wear black and walk fast. That was kind of, I just never thought I'd leave New York. Um, and life has a way of just kind of making you open your mind to other things. I stopped after a long, long time wanting to, continually put myself in that situation of, I'm sure people can imagine, even if they haven't experienced it, New York is hard and auditions are hard and there's 700 people at every audition. They're all taller and thinner and prettier than you. And it's, you sing for 15 seconds in front of 8 grumpy men and you get up at 4 in the morning to do it, so it's a hard life, but it also teaches you a lot of lessons. So that's what's so fascinating. One of the talks I give at business events is called From Broadway to Business, because it just, without knowing it, just shapes you into who you have to be in order to survive. And the people that go to 2 auditions and give up, don't stay in New York very long.
Yeah.
So the other thing that kind of happens almost by accident, and it's a little bit what you said, Jaime, is that you end up inadvertently surrounding yourself with people who are all going after their dream. Those were the people I was meeting. Those are the people in line at 4 in the morning for hours. The people that became my best friends, the people that I spend all my time with were all people that were in some way, shape, or form making it work for what they wanted most. And that isn't the norm in life, right? So it's like it was a skewed experience of really just from basically all my 20s and half my 30s, like surrounding myself with just people that wanted, they believe in themselves first and then waited for someone else to see it, and you just you feel sorry for yourself for 15 seconds when you have a setback, and then you go, well, what can I do next? And where can I go? And who can I meet? And how can I do better tomorrow? And so,
It's
you
so
don't think of that as a
interesting.
training ground, but it ends up being, because you
Yeah.
don't last long in that world if you don't figure it out, right?
What's so
Um,
interesting to me is that like people go and see shows all the time and they don't think about what it took to get that person on stage. And we
yeah.
actually, one of our other guests is now works for Tesla and talked about how he was on Broadway and did like the producers and different shows as well. So you guys might know each other. I don't know. They're a married couple. But
Well,
what's interesting is that like again, talking about what it takes, all the rejection, what that I mean, like that what that does to you as a human. Like just
yeah.
hearing someone say no to
Yeah.
you one time is like traumatizing, but hearing someone say no to you thousands of times
Yeah.
definitely has to form your, a mindset around
Yeah.
that. Like it's just different than anybody else. Rejection's hard, but you got like
Rejection's
a ton of
hard.
it. And I'm not, and you were amazing, but I'm sure you got a ton of rejection. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and anyone in any successful field has had a lot of no's before they have the yeses. And that's, we all know it intellectually, but people get so discouraged over something, or they start telling themselves that story of like, oh, this isn't for me. I'm not that girl. I can't do that. Instead of like, well, what do I need to learn to do better next time and have someone else see it and all that, And so one of the things in my first book, which was called Secrets from the Sock Drawer, I have this concept of the internal GPS, because, in your car, if you program in a destination, that lady, or, it's usually like some Australian, British lady, whatever,
Hello.
is going to be like, turn left, turn left. Like she's never going to be like,
Yeah, you
what?
made the wrong
Just
turn.
stay here. It's just fine. It's almost good enough. Like it's like it's she's gonna go crazy until you get there. And if you, even if you're like, no, 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 this is fine, and she's like, turn left, make a U-turn. Anyway,
Recalculating,
yeah.
recalculating.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people's lives are recalculating all the time. But here's the thing. It's like we need to have our own internal GPS of like,
Sure.
where we want our destination to be, because there's always going to be setbacks. There's always going to be detours. There's always going to be roadblocks and flat tires. And if you just go, all right, fine, this wasn't meant to be my destination, then you will end up somewhere else. And that's fine too. That's a choice, but it's not, if you really want something, you have to, build that internal GPS. It's going to keep telling you like how to go around those detours to continue towards your destination. So
Yeah.
anyway, speaking of a detour, that was a little side note, but so I absolutely loved being in New York. I loved the people I met. I loved my experiences. I loved the shows I got to do. And basically decided to leave New York, which was a huge choice, because most people identify who you are with your job. You meet someone new and they go, "Oh, what do you do?" And you don't really think about it maybe if you're in a business where you've just been doing that all your life. But believe me, if you change tracks, or if you're a singer that doesn't sing anywhere, and I moved to Florida and everyone's like, "Oh, what do you do?" "I'm a singer." "Oh, where do you sing?" "Nowhere." It's
In the
really like,
shower.
Haven't seen that
yeah,
shit.
it's like people are like, "Oh, do anyway, it was very you have to, for lack of a better word, reinvent
Yeah, but what
yourself.
what
But
what epiphany or what event caused you to rethink that future?
to move in the first place,
Yeah.
well, part of it was, that was the interesting thing too. New York is a lifestyle, right? And either you're going to live in a box the rest of your life and be happy that your apartment is $1 million when it's 650 square feet, or you're going to say, I think I want more,
Sure.
and so basically at the time, that was what happened. The apartment I was in would have been $1 million to buy. It was 650 square feet. And I thought, I just don't think I want this enough anymore. And the things I never thought I wanted, the house, the car, the picket fence, started seeming like pretty darn nice. In New York, it's just a hard life, right? And it's gloomy and it's, I love it, love it, love it, trust me, but it wears on you. So um I was married at the time, and my husband and I decided to move from New York to Florida. Um, and that was a huge, crazy thing. No one moves to Florida in their 30s. I mean, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like New Yorkers. Now, my husband was a chef, and a chef and a Broadway singer moving from Manhattan to Florida was kind of unheard of. And it was a big, big choice. Also, we did not have jobs when we moved, and that is a very scary thing. Like nobody really just moves into the future without knowing what's going to happen, unless you're, really, really brave and confident that you'll just figure it out. And that's kind of what happened. So that was the impetus for the move, was to just feel like there was something else out there for me, but I didn't know what that would be.
How'd you pick where in Florida to go to?
I was just gonna
Well,
That's what I asked.
I
brain.
mean, is there anywhere else? No. I mean, I love Sarasota. And the interesting thing is that I had my Broadway tour took me to the Van Wezel when I was 24 years old. And
The Sound of
by the
Music.
way, that's another interesting thing. So on top of everything else, I guess it's worth noting that I'd never even lived in New York yet. I got the lead in the Broadway tour, and I was only 23 when I was cast and 24 when I was on the road. It was a year and a half. I'm only 5 feet tall and not blonde, and I'm cast in a role, Maria, that is 1,000% identified with Julie Andrews, who's 5'7" and blonde. The kids, in The Sound of Music, you have the 7 children and then Maria, and form that perfect little line. Well, ours was like this because two of the kids were taller than me. And talk about having to just, you
Wow.
know, change everyone's mind of what they were about to see. The
Sure.
curtain comes up and they're like, huh? That was crazy too, to basically, my director at the time, this amazing guy named Joel Bischoff, he really did what a lot of directors would never do. Directors a lot of times just want to give the people the vision that they're expecting to see. And it takes a lot for a director to say, no, that's not Maria. That was Julie Andrews. Maria is the qualities that I see in this girl. And I got cast in that role without any New York credits. Literally, I still lived in DC at the time and had driven up for that audition. And he saw the qualities of Maria in me. Now, as another side note, I hadn't even auditioned for that role. I thought I was auditioning for Liesel because I was 5 feet tall, looked very young, and they usually cast the 16-year-old Liesel as a
Yeah.
as an older person anyway, right?
Right.
To be on the road for a year. So I'm there auditioning for Liesel, and then they start reading me for Maria, and I thought it was just a huge waste of time. I'm in line with, like, literally by the time I'd been called back, it was like
Wow. I
five
think
different
we had,
5'7" blondes and me, and I'm like, this is dumb. And then I got the part. So
I feel like
every
it was a
night.
major missed opportunity in the beginning of this call, by the way. I should have been, let's start at the very beginning. There's no place to
Oh my
start.
gosh, that would have been great. Just edit that in, edit that in.
You
Oh
can
my
take the
goodness.
girl out of performing, but you know the
That
rest.
was beautiful. It brought a tear to my eye.
Thank you. Thank
Anyway,
you.
He
so
saw he
that,
knew talent when he saw it. That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's undeniable. But
I'm talking about you.
oh, I see. I thought you meant your daughter.
Thank you. Is this
I
my
mean,
moment?
clearly, it's. I think you're going to be discovered. But anyway, so that was a huge thing too, right? And also, like, it speaks to another moment that I just try to encourage all my clients now. Like, when most people think you have to have the confidence already to like do any of this, but like a lot of it is you form the confidence and then figure it out, right? Like I didn't have any confidence that I was going to be able to. Now you're going to sing, "I have confidence." I knew it. Anyway, you know that I didn't have any experience in knowing that I could carry that show for a year and a half on the road. I'd never even been on tour. I was placed with an iconic role and I looked like me. And it was just, it was a lot that I had to just be like, well, let's just do this. And every night I had to change the mind, the curtain would come up, change the mind of all that audience. And by the end of the show, my favorite review, we got reviewed in every city. My favorite review ever said, because my stage name was Julie Price, even though I go by Jules, and it said, "This Julie makes you forget all about what's her name from the movie."
Fabulous.
I hope it's like
And
framed
I was like,
somewhere. I hope that it's
oh, I
framed.
get goosebumps still. I'm 52. I
You
get
have it
goosebumps.
framed? Is that like
Oh yeah. I mean,
that's
I literally, it's like, can you believe that? Right? Like to tackle a role like that and then have that kind of like acceptance is just wow. Anyway, but
you're gonna have to sing for us a little bit at
no,
some point.
I will not be. So you can't afford me. No, just kidding.
We've got a big budget.
I need the orchestra. No. So anyway, I know I'm
Green
skipping
M&Ms.
around, but basically then it also culminated, the end of that year was having the director, no, actually the director didn't come in for that. Having the producer and like 6 people call me into, I was in Orange, Texas or something. It was like a year, almost a year into the tour.
Is this bring you
You
PTSD?
see Orange, Texas. And it was a 2-show day, I remember, because that was the other thing, doing a role like that,
That's a grind.
3 hours. I never left the stage. I had 14 costume changes and sang my face off for 3 hours. And then I had a 2-show day and they called me into this random office in the theater and announced uh that Marie Osmond was going to be seeing the show that night with her manager, her nanny, 3 of her kids, her husband at the time, Brian, and her voice teacher, and that she was deciding, because she had been offered to do my role in Asia. So we all knew we were going to Asia, but I thought I was Maria. Like, literally when we signed our contract, we hadn't signed the Asian part, but like we all knew we were going to Asia after the US. And they said, like, these
Oh
are
boy.
these huge theaters that, seat 7,000 people and that they needed a star. It was no reflection on me. They said, because I mean, I had gotten great reviews the whole year, and they said, like, we love you, but that we have to fill it with a star. And they said, she's here tonight to see you. She's going to come to your dressing room afterwards. And she's deciding if she's going to do the show. And they said, so in Asia, we were going to Singapore, Bangkok, Hong Kong, and Seoul. And they said, Singapore, Bangkok, and Hong Kong all said that they wanted to use Maria. They didn't even, decide. And they said, and the presenters from Seoul are here tonight too to see you and
Oh,
decide.
you
I'm
wish
like,
they hadn't have
this
told
is
you
all
that?
placed
Oh
in my
God.
lap while I'm trying to eat my salad before my next 3-hour show. So then the other ironic thing is, think about this. Everybody in the whole cast, guess how excited they were, right? Because they now get to
They're
do
going. Oh, sure. They
the
jazzed.
Sound of Music with Marie Osmond. I'm the only one that was like voted, right? So that was huge. And the other really big thing is they gave me the decision, of course, whether I wanted. So Marie, by the way, came to my dressing room. It was the only time in my life I wasn't particularly friendly. I was
Before or
like,
after she came in? Before the performance or after?
she came in after, and I remember I put my foot up on my dressing room table. I was like, anyway, and I'm like, come in. Anyway, I was just, listen, I was 24. I was having problems. Anyway, so I'm not proud, but she did decide to do the show. But actually, I was quite excited to hear she was I hope she doesn't listen to this interview, but it's all true. But anyway,
I hope she does.
she was she was intimidated by my performance, which at least made me feel better. But anyway, so and Soul decided to use me, which I would
Whoa.
say was because of my performance, which I'm sure it was, but also because Marie was 30,000 a week. And so they decided like, you know
Forget
what,
that
that
part.
girl's
Forget
good
that.
enough. Yeah. Anyway, so I was going to be doing it in Seoul. She was going to be doing it in the other countries. But oh, what was I going to say? Oh, so I had the ability to say no when, of course, I could, and I almost did. This is where I'm so proud of myself. Like, there's so many times where we let our ego get in the way of something that doesn't serve us, right? And this was a big test for me because I loved this role. I'm like tearing up as like 25 years later, but I loved this role. It was my heart. I put my heart and soul in it, and I'd done it for a year. And then this woman was coming to like take it away. And I thought, well, I'm not going to go, right? This is a very normal reaction, right? And then I was like, that is not the right decision. I'm like, I'm going to do this with grace. And I remember remembering that word because I'm like, this is going to be hard, right? This is crazy. I'm getting emotional. Anyway, haven't thought about this in a long time, but I made the decision. So, and they also let me ask me if I wanted to be her understudy or her cover. And for those of you that aren't in the Broadway world, that means I could either be a nun in the show and then go on if she gets sick, or I could not be in the show and just sit in the dressing room every night and go on if she gets sick.
I'll
Now
take a
the
guess.
cover,
You went on as a nun.
No, I bet you did not.
I did, Stan. I
Huh?
did
See?
because I wanted to be a team player and
Absolutely.
I could
Yeah.
have been a cover, which is technically more prestigious, right? Like I'm not going to deign to be a nun, but I was like, let's do it. So I had to learn all their songs and I had to stand in the, during my wedding, like hearing my wedding music where I came in my wedding dress every night, standing there holding a candle. It was brutal. I
Oh,
mean, literally, like the crazy thing is, you know how music moves us, right? So what
yeah.
I didn't count on while I was planning to be so graceful, is every time I heard music, it just shattered me. Like it was
Yeah.
crazy, right? My
Mm.
music. Anyway, plus, by the way, she used to sing "The Heels Are Alive." Like, she's a country singer, right? Anyway, I won't get into that, but it murdered my soul. So
Well,
anyway,
my heels are alive today. No.
Well,
my
she
heels were alive
stole
in the
her
dressing
soul and spoke about
gown.
heels.
That's really funny. Anyway, I'm
Oh
probably
gosh.
going on to this story too long. But anyway, so what happened was I did decide to go. I did decide to be a nun. I did decide to, have the experience. And then about 3 months later, um, I actually was kind of enjoying not having to worry about my voice anymore. I got to finally have fun with the cast, flirt with the cute drummer. And then 3 months in, I was in Hong Kong. Oh, by the way, in Seoul, every night. That was when I got to finish it out, right? Like Seoul was first, and I got to still do my role and just beautiful standing ovations every night. And they love Sound of Music. So I would sign autographs for hours after the show. And a really crazy side note is that after I moved to New York, when I got back from the tour, I'd gone into a nail salon in Astoria and started to get my nails done. And this Korean woman was like, Sound of Music. And I'm like, what? What'd you just say? She goes, Sound of Music. She had seen me and I
Oh,
had
okay.
signed her autograph, and she had her mom send a picture of her and me after the show. I was like,
Shut
oh my
up.
God, I'm famous in Seoul. Anyway, so that's neither here nor there. But so what happened was I finished the role with Grace. Then we went to Singapore, and I was put in as a nun, and I won't go into
But
how
then
terrible
Maria
it
had
was.
an accident, didn't she? Yeah.
Well, Stan, no. Although I have every time I tell
No,
this story,
no
someone thinks it's my fault.
Not
But
really an accident.
Nancy,
in Hong Kong,
Nancy Kerrigan
in
stories.
Hong Kong,
No, Tanya
she
Harding.
got food poisoning. Not my fault. Anyway, but I got to go on again, and it was actually very stressful because I hadn't done the role in 3 months.
Oh, she
I
really
had
did get food poisoning?
got food poisoning in Hong Kong. So I got to the theater. Now, when I was Maria, I would get there 2 hours early. I
Right.
mean, no question. I'd warm up my voice. I'd be, just getting in my zone. When I was a nun, I got there at half hour when we had to get there, and I'd slap on my habit. I didn't even wear makeup. Right.
Vacation.
So the day that it was like I was at some, palace or something with Billy the drummer, and we get
Wait, the drummer.
to
That
the
sounds like that's
theater
a
at
good
half
story right
hour,
there.
and they're like, "What'd you say?"
I said Billy the drummer. That sounds like another story I want to hear over
Oh,
cocktails.
yeah, it's in my book. Don't date a drummer. Anyway, so I get there at half hour and they said,
You're on.
go on.
Oh,
Oh,
And
because there weren't really cell phones then, so they wouldn't be able to
yeah, thank you. I'm
oh,
ancient. But yeah, so there were no cell phones. I had no idea. And the other interesting thing is that for those of you that don't know, and maybe the rules changed, but back then, if there was a celebrity whose name was above the title, like Marie Osmond in The Sound of Music,
sure.
um, versus The Sound of Music with Marie Osmond. So it was different with the billing of whether the audience could ask for their money back before the show or after the show.
Oh,
And
Ah.
the way ours was Marie Osmond in The Sound of Music. So even after someone chooses to see the show, they could ask for their money back afterwards if they felt so inclined.
sure.
Right.
So I am like, oh my gosh, like I hadn't sung the role. I had also never met the guy that played the captain because they
Oh,
brought in a new captain. Sorry, I never had a conversation with him. I knew him. He's Garrett States. He's a pretty famous Broadway actor. I had said hi, but like we had never had a conversation, and now I'm like, he has to become my husband and make out with him. Um, I didn't know if my costume still fit because I was enjoying the, Asian street food. And I, I'm like pacing in my dressing room, like, oh my gosh, I hope I remember my lines. And the presenter was standing outside. This Australian presenter was like telling me, you have to be good. And I'm like, you have to leave. Anyway, so I
oh,
get on my rock. Like Maria has to start off the whole show with the title song of the show. There's no musical in the world that
The
happens, I
hills are
don't think.
alive, right? Is
Yeah.
that
And and it starts off with like the curtains down, the nuns have this thing like in front of the curtain where they're like, Maria, Maria, where's Maria? They're little, and then the curtain comes up with the tremolo and the orchestra and Maria's on the rock. I do sing the title song. So I'm in the wings, I'm on my rock, the curtain's down, the nuns are in the wings, and they're like, tonight the role of Maria will be played by Julie Lynn Price. And 7,000 people started to boo. And
really?
it was like the craziest sound you've ever heard in your life. Like it, and all the nuns are just looking at me. And I'm like, this is one of those moments where you're like, uh, what are you gonna do? Like, I mean,
Sure.
it was almost funny if it wasn't the craziest sound
Do
I've ever
they
heard. And
say boo over there too? They go, ah.
they do, but then here's the interesting thing. They made the announcement in Chinese and they booed even louder. And it was the loudest 7,000 boo, Chinese boo you've ever
Oh,
heard. And
God.
I'm like, and so I write about this in my second book, Don't Eat the Scraps, because I was like, I remember very clearly having that moment where I decided to win. Like I was like,
Screw you,
like
audience.
I'm gonna sing my face off, and I know that
Excellent.
I am a beautiful Maria, and I know they're sad because they came here to see that. And believe me, Marie has a huge following in Asia. I don't really know why, but they love
I
her,
think
right?
all the odds, like doesn't Donnie like as well too?
Yes,
They're
all
like
of them.
really
They're
awesome.
like, the Osmonds, and then there's me, right? So anyway, I was like, all I can do is focus on giving the best performance. And
Fantastic.
the other thing that's interesting that is a whole other side note, but most people don't think about the fact that when you have a long running show, it's different than movies, right? Movies, they film scenes, but then they move on. When you have a long running show, you have to do that role over and over and over again. And you have to keep it fresh and real for yourself, or else actors have a term called phoning it in, where you're like imitating yourself almost, like you're saying it the way you said it when you got that laugh, or but you're not really feeling it. You're like almost imitating how you do it, how you say it, but you're not living it. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
And audiences might not know it. Like they might be like not moved as much as they would have been, but they don't, unless you're discerning, you don't know when someone's phoning it in. I know people that are in it know when someone's not really like doing it, like feeling it. But anyway, and so for basically the entire time I ever did Maria, every night, twice a day, for a year and a half, like I had to live that part. Like I literally lived every moment of that show, from, being that young, naive woman to falling in love to escaping from the Nazis. Like it was an emotional experience, right? And so I just was like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna live this and like hope for the best. So anyway, basically you could tell the curtain came up. You know how you feel energy, like, oh my goodness,
Sure.
they were hating me from hell before I opened my mouth, and then literally I did like, the Sound of Music, polite pattering. I did do re mi. I did, my favorite things, Lonely Goater. By the time I'm like jumping on the bed with the kids, singing like my face off. I could feel them start to come around. And by the final curtain call, 7,000 people jumped to their feet and was like,
Incredible.
it was the craziest sound you've ever heard in your life. And
Amazing.
anyway, the wildest thing is like, you know, it would have gone very differently if I had not made that
Yep.
decision. And I was lucky that of course I'd done that role before. Like if I'd never done the role and then I had to do it like for the first time, that would have
Yeah.
been tough. But it was very significant. And the reason I mention it is like it is so applicable to life. Like and literally, luckily I was 24 years old and had this experience, and thank goodness I decided to go instead of letting my ego get in the way. Thank goodness I threw myself into the experience, threw myself into like, well, I'm here, let's make the best of it. And then that was near the end of the tour that I got to go on again and have that experience. Maybe that wouldn't have even happened. And so thank goodness, right? But,
Thanks, Billy the
you know,
drummer, for poisoning.
I mean, it wasn't me. I'm just gonna say
I'm
it again.
kidding.
Anyway, but oh, and well, I shouldn't say this, but it's true. So I'm
Too
gonna say it.
late.
So Marie had never gotten a standing ovation, and she always said it was like their culture. And I'm like, well, that's funny because they stood for me in Korea. But anyway, so when she came back the next day, like,
Can I say it now?
What?
Can I say it?
Say what?
Maria Osmond, in your face.
no, we love Marie. Marie was lovely, but it was interesting because, I think that this also speaks to like living the role versus like when you're a celebrity and from a young age,
Yeah.
Marie was a celebrity from, there's a wall, like she doesn't, the vulnerability factor wasn't there, right? Like she was
Yeah.
doing the lines, she was getting to the jokes,
She had something to
but
fall
like,
back on. Yeah, she had
but
something, she had a
you have to
security.
be very vulnerable as a performer to like let anything
Yeah.
affect you. And like, so it was just a different Maria that,
But what a
and
testament to not only to your character, but you believed in yourself and you listened to yourself. You have to listen to those voices.
The good ones.
yeah, yeah. And you have to like find the voices. Like I never had that voice. It was like, you got this. Like I remember that was like really one of the first times like I had to be like, I mean, what's the alternative, right? I'd run away crying and but I mean, I had to do
That
it.
stayed with
But
you though. Like everything you've done, I believe that you have like
that's what I'm
used that
saying. It
voice.
is like a massive like training ground for mindset and belief. And like I joke around now, I'm like everything else was easy after that. I mean, sales, I got this. Relationships, I'm on it. Like I mean, because it was just a lot. But anyway, I know I talked about that a little too
Big
long,
turning
but
point.
basically moved to Florida, had to start over with no even sense of like who I am without that, right? And then I just kind of like reinvented myself as a business person, which interestingly, I didn't think I was because I was a performer, but guess what? Like you are a business person when you're a performer, right? And I just didn't know it.
Yeah, the
Um,
correlation.
so I had the skills without having the confidence behind it again. So I got a card in the mail from a girl when I was, I didn't know anyone here. That was the other thing. We picked Sarasota because it's beautiful, and because I'd been here when I did the tour of the Sound of Music, and I just was like, wow, that water is like the Caribbean. But we didn't have family here, we didn't have friends here, and we didn't have any connections. So it was a huge leap. And I was trying to meet people by going online. I'm like, well, I found my husband online. I can find my friends online. And I met Jeremy on Matt.com in New York.
We talk about this.
Um,
We both
and
had
so,
our yeah. Good.
so I had to like put myself out there. And again, it was like, this isn't fun. I remember, you go to things and then go home like, ah, I don't care if I see any of those people again, because it was just like, it's just, you have to keep putting yourself
Exhausting.
out there and
Yeah.
putting yourself out there until you find your tribe.
Yeah.
And, I didn't even meet this girl. She asked me to join her networking group in Clearwater. And I'm like, oh gosh, if I have to drive that far for friends, I'm really in trouble. So I said no. And then like she said, oh, when's your birthday? I like to send birthday cards. And gave her my birthday. And then 7 months later, I walked out to my mailbox in September 4th. And I got a birthday card from her with a Starbucks card in it. And it said, hey, Jules, hope you met some nice people. Florida's lucky to have you. Happy birthday. And I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck? Like, I don't even know her. She sent me a birthday card and she sent me a $5 Starbucks card. I was so impacted by that. And I still to this day, because if she hadn't sent the Starbucks card, I don't know if my whole life would have followed the same path. Like maybe it would have, but I think it was like that over the top. Like it was so nice that I found her email, I called her up and I'm like, wow, why did you do that? And she has 4 kids. She's like, well, I have this tool that lets me like stay on top of things and be thoughtful and peace and, like to people that I don't even know. And she walked me through on the phone. It was the business tool that I've been a rep for ever since. So she walked me through sending a card. I sent one to Jeremy. I hit send and my head exploded where I'm like, this is the coolest thing. And then she's like, well, you can be a customer, you can be a rep. I'm like, excuse me, they're gonna pay me to tell people about this. Like, meanwhile, by the way, I was still transcribing for news networks, like, which is what I did in New York. So I was doing that at home in Florida to make money, but in my house without meeting anyone, right? Like, so I didn't know what I wanted to do, but it wasn't transcribing. And so I'm like, they're gonna pay me to tell people about this tool. She's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm in. I'm gonna own an island. So I started networking. I started going to networking events. I started telling people, hey, there's this cool tool that you can send cards to clients, you can send gifts to clients. And literally it changed my whole life again. Like it just, I became number 6 in the world for this company without even trying. I'm just telling people. People are like, what's your secret? I don't have a secret. I'm doing the work. What's wrong with you? And so it was so interesting. And again, it was the same thing. Everyone thought I must have some secret thing, but I just had vision. I had like, if someone said, no, I don't want that, I felt sorry for them. I'm like, oh, you don't want to be thoughtful? Okay, I'm sorry. Bye. And so instead of most people that are like, oh, I'm not good at this. I can't do this. This doesn't work. I'm like, what doesn't work? You're not working. What? Show someone else. So anyway, I just like, then I started teaching and training because I was so passionate about, yes, it was awesome that I was making money, but I was passionate about showing people how they can be more thoughtful in their life. I'm like, I get paid to every time someone has a thought about someone else and acts on it, that creates a penny in my paycheck. Like that is so cool to me. And I loved business. I didn't know it, but I loved showing realtors how to use this. Banks. I remember doing a presentation to the CEO of a bank and thinking, I didn't even get my MBA and I'm telling him what to do. Like it was wild, right? Like, I'm like, this is so cool. But every business person needs to be thoughtful or at least pretend so that, it builds retention, it builds clients, it builds relations, all that, and your bottom line. So I started anyway, so I started teaching and training, and then everybody was like asking me what my secret was. So that's when I wrote that first book, The Secrets from the Sock Drawer, and had all these analogies about like mindset and like verbiage and things that helped people, that anyone in sales. I'm like, I came up with these magic sentences that just didn't feel salesy, that just worked, and taught people how to bring it up and how to follow up, which is like where people fall down, right? Either they don't tell anyone about it or they don't follow up or both. Otherwise, they could do exactly the same thing I do, which is sign people up in the tool, like, so anyway, that became an amazing thing. So, that went on for many, many years. I have a team all over the world, people sending cards and gifts, which I still love, love, love. But,
He was a vendor for that company for a little bit.
oh, wonderful.
So the
It's so
the flower birthday candle.
Yeah, isn't that cool? The gifts are so cool. I mean, it really is like a special thing. And even, people have their cards. What's that?
Are they still in business? Send out card?
Yeah, so send out cards, but there's another tool called Mailbox Power also, that where you can customize the gifts with logos and stuff like that. So I took that on as well because I'm like, this is brilliant. Anyway, and so basically what ended up happening was, all the way back in the meantime, remember how I said I met my husband on Match? So Match.com in New York. And I was teaching people verbally, like not teaching, but sharing, like, my philosophy on online dating. And I had made up this theory called Don't Eat the Scraps when I was in New York. And it was something that happened in the first basically 6 to 8 weeks of dating, because the guy I was dating before Jeremy, 7 weeks in, broke up with me out of the blue when I thought things were going great. And then a few months later, I met Jeremy. Things were going great. And 7 weeks in, Jeremy broke up with me with like the same speech as Pete. And I'm like, what is happening? And I'm like, oh
Not
my
you,
gosh,
it's me.
what's that?
It's not you, it's me.
No, that wasn't the speech. It was actually, the speech was, I don't love you and I never will. And I thought, love? I don't love you either. It's been 6 weeks, but and I think that's what actually back to back that it happened, and the fact that they both use the word love made me realize the theory that I developed, which is in my second book called Don't Eat the Scraps, because it's something that happens that men don't know that they do, that creates a chain reaction in women that they don't know that they do, and then it creates a disconnect. And I figured it out so clearly and started just verbally telling people, like I'd be at a dinner party and someone's like, I don't know what happened. It was going so well. I'm like, I do. And I'd be in the dressing room at Lincoln Center, a dancer would be crying over some guy. I'm like, let me tell you what happened. So through all these years, it was helping people, but I was like, I should write that down, like, and then even after I wrote my first book, I made a joke in the book. I said, since this book has nothing whatsoever to do with dating, you'll just have to wait till Jules Rules hits the shelves, because I related it to business. There's a chapter in that book called Don't Eat the Scraps, and I related it to a business
Right.
situation.
Such a good book. It's so
And
good.
so everybody was like, well, when are you going to write Jules Rules? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm not a date, I don't do that, anyway. And so finally, one day after another person was like, oh my God, you're the reason I'm married today. You're the reason that, I'm like, what? I didn't even remember telling people these things, and it affected their life. So one day I'm like, why didn't I write it down? And actually I had started to write it and then just stopped because I'd written like the first 60 pages. I'm like, well, it's not a book, it's a pamphlet. And I just stopped. And then I pulled it out a couple years later and I read it. I'm like, this is really funny. And I wrote some more and then put it away. And it was one of these weird things. Because my first book I wrote in like a month without stopping. Second book took 10 years. But anyway, I just kept kind of putting it away because I was so busy. And then right before COVID, great timing, 2019, November or October, I finally published it. And I was going to do a book tour and everything. And then COVID happened. But anyway, um, and then it just set off a whole other, area where basically for the last 5 years now, I've been a dating coach, because people started saying, do you coach dating? And I'm like, sure. I'm a big fan of saying yes and then figuring it out. I remember a guy wrote me on Instagram and he's like, do you coach men? And I thought he meant like for business. And I'm like, oh, for business or dating? He goes, dating. And I was like, and I was ready to say no. And I'm like, sure. And I'm like, oh my God. He bought like a 10-pack. I'm like, what am I going to talk to this guy about for 10 hours? Anyway, so just started figuring it out. And then the final piece was that high-end matchmaking company asked if I would coach their clients before they're matched. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years, while I'm still doing all these other things. Like I still do voiceover artists. I still have my card business, but I've been coaching. I have over 600 dating clients. And now I'm launching a dating brand called Dateable. So it's so weird. Like, what do I do? I don't know. Everything and nothing, I don't know. But I love it. And everything has a through line, right? Everything's about mindset, about positivity, about the decisions and the stories you tell yourself.
Brilliant.
And that has to do with, whether it's Broadway, whether it's business, or whether it's dating. Guess what? It's all the same success principles across the board, right? And one of my favorite things as a dating coach, I have these people that are like, heads of companies that you've all heard of, massive, successful people, multimillionaires and a couple billionaires. And I'm telling them what to do in their dating life, because guess what?
They don't know.
They don't bring the same set of confidence and mindset to the table that they do in dating that they do. And I call their attention to it all the time. I'm like, would you ever say that in the boardroom? What the heck? Like they'll be like, running these companies and then in front of me be like, well, we'll see if this works. I'm like, what did you just say? And it's like, it's fascinating because not that I want them to treat their relationships like a business, but you got to be the same person. You got to bring that same person to the table, or else you are abandoning all the skills that you've built as a human. And it's just because they have a different story that, oh, I'm not successful here. My wife left me here, or my husband did this here, that they have all this kind of like excuses, insecurity, negativity. And then they're like badasses, excuse my language, in business. And I'm like, where's that guy? So anyway, so it's been amazing. My second book is like, my audiobook is finally coming out after 5 years. I wrote the paperback 5 years ago, and now, it was really just because of a client of mine she's this top, New York Wall Street woman, has one of the top female Wall Street, businesses, finance businesses. And when I gave her a copy of my book, and she's like, "Well, I have a book too," and she starts talking about her audio, and I'm like, "Oh, I know, I've never done the audio of mine," and she's like, "Well, I just recorded it in Naples and then it was produced in New York." And this is crazy, Jamie. This is where one of these examples of like sometimes you can't see what's right in front of you.
Mhm.
The reason I never recorded my own audiobook is because I'm a voiceover artist. I have a studio in my house and I know it would take months and I didn't have the time, right? But you know what never occurred to me? To go to a studio, have someone else record it and have someone else produce it. I was like, oh my God, I get to just be the author. Like it never occurred to me because I do that and it takes so long, right? The editing of it just takes forever. And so I just kept saying, oh, I don't have time to do my own book. So after talking to this one client, I booked the same guy. I went into a studio here in Sarasota. I recorded the book. Someone else is producing it in New York and it's coming out next week. And I
Excellent.
couldn't be happier because
Amazing.
all this time I just didn't do it because
I love
I
that.
thought I had to do it all. Like it's such a good lesson,
By
right?
the time that this episode airs, it will already have been released. So where can listeners get your book and where can they listen to your book?
Well, so it's my paperback and Kindle have been on Amazon. So the Audible version is going to be linked to that. So you'll be able to go to um I think yeah, because when you go to Amazon, it lets you buy the Audible. Yeah, or you can go to Audible Direct or Amazon. It's called "Don't Eat the Scraps" by Jules Price. And
How
also
does
there's
someone
gonna
pay you
it's
to
gonna
like
be
coach them? Like how do they hire you as like a dating coach?
oh well, so that's the other thing. So I have everything's kind of being built out and a little bit changed right now, but you can find it at maybe you can post the link underneath
Yeah.
or something like that. But it's basically um, the audiobook you can find. Well, actually, I'll just do because it'll be gone. It'll be
You
launched
can
by
tell
then.
me all the, you know what? Well, you give me all the links afterwards. We'll put
Yeah.
everything that we have in the YouTube
Okay.
link and also on the post as well too.
Yeah. It's basically
Wow.
just at dateable-u.com/coaching is where everything is right now, but you can post that. But it's all going to eventually be at julesprice.com. I'm transitioning it over so that all my other websites are all going to be linked and everything will be in the
All
same
right.
place.
Jules, did you ever give the advice just during your life, embrace the rejection?
Well, a little bit. So, nobody loves rejection, right? I mean, rejection sucks. And in dating, what's so interesting is like dating, I would say, is even more heightened than business because it's so personal.
Yeah.
And people like, people are so emotional. It's the most stressful thing. Like I've coached business clients all my career and they're not as upset as they are over like the
Personal,
things
sure.
they're upset in their personal life, right? And I have so much empathy for that because I mean, who doesn't know what it's like to be broken up with or to be ghosted or to be rejected? Like it's so painful. But one of the things I say is like in dating, dating is a means to an end, right? Like assuming you're not like just a playboy or playgirl, you don't date forever. You date to find your person, right? So people all the time are like, I hate dating. Like they're kind of giving me this big revelation. I'm like, who likes dating? Like, I don't like working out, but I work out to be fit. Like, dating is
A
so
means
that
to
you
an
can
end,
find your
sure.
person.
Yeah.
And so rejection is the only way to lose is to stop, and I have all these clients, sometimes they get so upset and they're like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, what? Like, do it more, do it harder, do it faster. Because like quitting doing something because it's painful is not going to get you again to your goal, which is to meet someone. And people put up the wrong mindset and the wrong barriers to protect themselves, but they're walling themselves away from the thing they want most. And it's very easy to see, but it's also like it's easy to do and hard to do at the same time, right? Like it's easy to say, oh well, don't put up walls, but the reason they do it is they think they're protecting themselves. And same thing with like people who have been burned in a past relationship kind of come to a new relationship with that like we'll see if you're going to let me down attitude.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, that is the opposite of what you need to have them innocent until proven guilty. Come to the table with a warm, open, who wants to climb the wall
Sure.
of the person that's like this, and yes, if someone starts to let you down, like keep your eyes open, look for red flags, like, but you can't come to the table all because you're protecting yourself to be like, well, I've just been burned. Who
Well, and
wants
a
that,
lot of people, listen,
right?
hey, I can think
Yeah,
of a lot of people that are single right now that do that. And
yeah,
I remember when I was single, I would do like this whole test. Like if I got past the first date, that was like a good sign. Second date was typically given with the first date, but it was the third date. If I could get past the third date, then I was like, all right. Then I went from the third date to like the first month. And then that first month to like 2 months when you're talking about like that 7 weeks where they're like, well, I just could never love you. It was always that like breaking point. And your book is so, I mean, I read your book and I'm married. I have a child. Like I'm not dating, but I have so many
Yeah.
friends. I've, family members who were single. And I was like, everybody needs to read this book or gift it to somebody that,
Yeah.
like whatever it is for a birthday or whatever, for holidays.
Yeah.
Because it was like stuff that you were like, this light bulb went off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you would have saved me so much
Yeah.
heartache. And my
Yeah.
dad's like, well, you had to get where you are. I'm like, well, I could have done a little less of it. I mean, not that it was massive.
Yeah. Well, so just to
Master
your
and
point,
Dater is what I said, just so you guys know. That's what I said. I just want to make sure
master
I'm clear on
dater. Yeah.
that one.
Got
Very
it.
good.
Got it.
But you know what I mean?
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I would go to relationships being like, oh, I'm gonna like if he says this one, that's how, on my first date with my husband,
Yeah.
if he does any of these things in the first date, that's it, I'm done. And
Yeah.
somehow we managed through that. And now I'm like, if
Yeah.
he says anything tonight at dinner, I'm done. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, and so the book really, yes, it's, of course it's good for single people or people that are divorced or widows but it also is so good for anyone because it is about mindset. It's funny. I think I'm comfortable enough saying it's funny, although it's my own wording, but people laugh.
You are
They
fun.
laugh so hard through it out loud that like I've had people that read it on airplanes and like, oh my God, people think I'm crazy right now.
Yeah.
And I love
Yeah.
that.
That was
It makes
me.
me so happy because I believe that people learn more when they laugh, and my first book is funny too, because they remember it if it's funny. If it's not funny, you're like, what would that book say? Nobody knows. But when you laugh, you learn. And it ends up giving people a lighter attitude towards dating too, which is like, again, who wants the person that's like, I want to find someone, it's if you have this like, well, we'll see what happens, then that's the person that's going to meet their person.
Mhm.
But like you said, Jaime, even people that have been married 30 years get a lot out of the book because number one, they know single people and it's entertaining. Like the
Yeah.
whole point of the
Very
book is
funny.
it's a very fast read and it feels like a movie like that, and in fact, what's interesting? My audiobook really randomly and without any me trying to do this, I just got it back in um like my producer sent me the full audio file of like the whole thing together without just the tracks. And it was 2 hours
Phew.
exactly. I was like, how? I'm like, I could have even planned that. That was the coolest thing.
Wow.
Like 2 hours. I'm like, it wasn't like 2 hours, 6 minutes. It was anyway. But I wanted it to feel like a fun movie where you feel kind of touched
Maybe
and
it will be
good
one
and
day. Like he's just not that into you. Don't eat
I
this.
know, right? Well, I don't know. I've always had kind of big visions for this book, not just because of like, it's not about like, I want the world to read it because I wrote it. I want the world to know this. And I truly believe that however that he's just not that into you or men are from Mars, women are from
Yeah.
Venus, like those are the only two kind of dating concepts that took the world by storm
Yeah.
ever. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's
Yeah.
kind of weird. Think about how many health concepts there have been or, financial concepts, but like dating wise, there's not like a concept that the whole world knows. And honestly, this one has helped thousands of people to have a better connection, a better relationship, a lighter attitude, a better mindset. And this particular thing that I talk about is about navigating the first 2 months of a new relationship. Nobody teaches that, right? And it's the only thing in the world. Like think about every business.
Yeah.
We learn skills. Every trade, we learn skills. Everything, we learn skills to do better. And in relationships, we're like, good luck. Try to just wing it, like use your instincts and there's so many just small things that people can learn to have better connections that it's so humbling. I'll be coaching. I coach people from, 18 to 82, but to have them go, "Oh my gosh, I wish I knew that. I wish I, and some of the things I teach in our sessions are so significant. Even these billionaires are like, "Oh my goodness," right? And it's because we don't teach this. We teach sex ed, but we
Yeah.
don't teach
Really
relationship
anymore.
skills.
Yeah.
And there's a couple things. There's a vulnerability around that. There's people that are like, "Oh, I don't need coaching." Like cuz they think that means they're I don't know, it's like an insult. But like imagine if they went to like banking school and they're like, "I don't need to learn anything." It's like what is happening right now? Anyway, but there's a couple small things that everyone could learn.
Micro moves.
Even
Yeah.
I teach this thing about when arguments are always a disaster because people end up being like, well, we'll just agree to disagree, or like they apologize for something that they're not really sorry for. It's because everybody does it wrong, right? And I teach this thing that's like, oh my God. Like, and people immediately realize, oh my gosh, what, wow, right? Because it's not about like trying to beat someone else into submission of like, and then everyone's gonna both be right. Um, so it's skills, right? And that's what everybody, I believe so much, whether it's in business or in relationships or life, there's just things that we can learn to be better and to be kinder to ourselves and to others.
You should create a license to date. You can't
Well,
date until you pass your learner's permit. Absolutely.
I think that would be amazing. Well, so I'm really excited. I'm right on the cusp of all this stuff, as Jamie knows. She's going to be a part of it too, but I'm right on the cusp of launching my dating brand, which is going to be called Dateable. I think it's a brilliant name. I just love it. It's so digestible. It's just like a good name, and it's what we do, which is like
Are you
teach people how to be
dateable?
more dateable.
Yeah.
And it's going to have all these moving parts that everything's kind of coming together, but it's going to have a membership platform, it's going to have coaching, and it's going to have live events because people are so over online dating. And
Yeah.
not only do I teach them how to do that better, and how to have better connections with online dating, but I'm going to have some super fun live events where people can, actually enjoy being there, meeting people, letting things happen more organically. And so that whole arm, and then I'm going to have conferences where people can come and learn from lots of different people, and really and meet other people there. So it's really it's going to be so fun. Jamie's going to be hopefully a big part of it, and you too, Stan, and you better wear orange anyway. But
We are here to support you with whatever you need.
I
it's going to
think
be
I've
so
just
exciting
met the Tony Robbins of
of
dating.
dating.
Ah, there you go.
Call me Tina Robin. No, but yeah,
Well,
it's
Jules, it is.
it's exciting. So I'm really grateful to be here, and I love all your energy too, Jamie. Always.
Well, we're so grateful that you took an hour out of your day, and I know how busy you are because we can never even like match up calendars, like go have lunch or breakfast or a cocktail because we're both just like moving so fast. And I just think what you're doing, the world needs more of it. So we will share all of your links. It's amazing. People want to be dateable that are single. But also I just think like the energy and the mindset you talked about that rejection and the booing, just what a great episode this was. I'm so grateful to have had you on here and to be a partner of ours in this story that we're trying to tell. So just sending you lots of love. I think you're amazing. I think you're
Thank you
absolutely.
so much.
I
And you
can't
guys
wait
are
for Jules
amazing too.
rules to come out. Like the next like
Oh, everything's coming out now. Everything I'm unleashing it all on the world because I've had the just amazing ability now to talk to so many people and really realize where the holes are and what people need the most to hear to help them have the best selves going forward.
well, keep it
my,
up.
my final comment.
Yeah.
Oh, standing ovation!
Oh, I
Yay!
love yes, standing
Hey,
ovation.
That's
So,
amazing.
listener, you can't see, but we're giving Jules yet another, the first
Aw.
standing ovation from our podcast.
tell Maria to
That
go home.
We love you. Thank you so
amazing.
much.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Bye,
beautiful day.
bye,
Yeah,
bye,
love
bye,
you.
bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Oh my goodness. Wow.
I'm exhausted.
I mean, she is like a firehouse,
Woo,
right?
big.
Like she is like her red hair
She
fiery.
have
Yeah.
kids?
She does not. She has 600,000 of them that are her dating clients.
Oh,
But she is just, I mean, she is so, when I read the book, I immediately gifted it to somebody that we both know. I was like, you have to, I
how
don't
did
know.
you been at a connecting event or something?
I think we met
You
through
have a
another
secret dating
friend.
profile?
Yeah. We girlfriends, we met, I don't remember how we met, but we went to lunch one time and we sat there for a couple hours. We have so much in common. She was on a cruise ship as well too. We've got some other things in common, but just, I mean, like this spitfire of a person who I'm going to be helping her. I'm obviously not single, but talking about just some things we're going to do together. And I just absolutely adore her.
Well,
And
two concepts I've always embraced. Educate through entertainment,
yeah,
because it's all about that. If they're having a good time. And people suppress the child in themselves. They get older, they lose that spontaneity, they lose the curiosity, they lose the vulnerability. Have some fun. They're fun suckers.
yeah. And she brings that, she just like the stories. Oh,
She's a star, no question about it.
she's amazing. And I wanted her to sing. Damn it.
I don't know what the words to damn it. Damn it. Damn
Do,
it.
re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Damn it.
Do, re, si, mi, ta, tu, de, do. Okay,
Oh,
anyway,
the hell with it.
no one wants to hear us sing. Listener, wow. If you know someone who you would like for us to share their story, we recommend you reach out to us. Go to jamiemarco.com/podcast. And on there, you can submit yourself as a guest or you can submit somebody else. We would love to have you there. Also, we would love for you to rate this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on YouTube. Leave us a comment, give us a rating. We'd love to hear how you're experiencing what we're bringing to the table. We don't really care because we're going to keep doing it. Just kidding.
And
we care.
please do not be intimidated by the excellence of the previous guests we've had. We also do ordinary people just like us.
It's true, but the thing is, we never know what we're gonna get. Like, you didn't know where we were going with that. I haven't heard how those stories were.
Never met.
No, yeah.
It's, as we say, it's just a conversation.
Oh, I think we'll end there. Love you, Dad.
Voiceover? I had to contact your studio. Hello. Hello. Goodbye.
I think I can do better. Hello. Hello. Hi. Bye-bye.
You're right. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thank you for tuning into today's What's Your Story podcast.
To learn more or share your story, go to jamiemarco.com. That's www.jamiemarco.com. And we will see you next time.